The Deader the Better is my personal stab at the horror genre. And when people think horror, they usually think scary. But this isn't really a horror movie at all. That's not really what it's going for. It's more like a supernatural thriller of the B-movie kind. So it's really sort of a dark comedy about two guys who make a living killing the dead. They have a job in a cemetery where, for some reason, the corpses keep coming out of the ground and they have to kill them again.
I love horror films. Just can't get enough of them.
This is like a kid's dream come true to actually get a chance to play in one.
I wrote a script and I drew storyboards which detailed every gory effect in the film I wanted to try out. I had my friend Dave help out during pre-production. And it's always better when you have somebody to bounce ideas off of. We decided that the film could cost less than $2,000 and it could be shot in 4 days. And that's exactly how it went. The biggest expense was definitely making the props, especially the graveyard. But there were many inexpensive ones, such as the stunt dummy, who ended up being named Roy on the set. I made him myself. His bones were wood, his joints door hinges, his muscles newspaper, and his skin duct tape. You beat him up, kick him around, throw him, and he doesn't care. And on top of that, he only cost $12 to make. So when it came time to cast the film, I wanted reliable people, so I went on the internet, I put an ad out, and I just waited to see what happened, and honestly, I got overwhelmed by the response. And the people I chose were great, and they acted for free, and they were really excited about the film.
Well, first when I heard that there was going to be people that we didn't know that were actually people that were found on the internet, I was a little bit worried and nervous.
Strangers.
They were strangers.
Ooh,
However, I was really happy to meet all of them. They turned out to be really fabulous people, and I liked every one of them. I enjoyed cooking for them because that was basically my job.
Well, to make a long story short, me and Dan, who's also in the film, we did a little extras work for a film in Philadelphia, and I was listening to the people behind me, and they were saying all these sites you could go on to find other places where you can find extras work. And so I just got on the internet and I found this one site, and it had all the information to contact James. So I called him up and I said, you know, this looks interesting. It's zombie films. We love watching them and stuff. I said, let's just call them and see what happens. And so they did, and that's kind of how it happened.
So we called him up, and I was a ground zombie. I actually got killed twice in the movie.
Well, I was Lloyd, and I was drawn to the character because there was so much death involved in it, and I had a chance to kill a lot of zombies.
I don't know if he was asked if he could raise the eyebrow, but he definitely raised the eyebrow, which is kind of cool. And that one is going to have to be now.
Going to have to be now. And we worked well together. We discussed the scenes that we were in together before we shot them, and we decided what we were going to do and how we were going to do them. The teamwork that we enjoyed shooting this film, I think, shows on the film.
Initially, the first time we got there, it was just pretty much to help out. I helped out with the makeup. I did help supply the females' wardrobe for the female zombies. And then I myself became a zombie. I was the lovely intestinal zombie. I had my guts ripped out.
It reminded me of working with Himalayan dogs during, it wasn't like that.
The kind of horror films that I favor the most are the classics of the 30s and 40s, like Dracula, Frankenstein, and the Wolfman. And what attracted me to those mostly was the whole visual appeal, the black and white cinematography, the full moons, the foggy cemeteries. I mean, that's the kind of atmosphere that I wanted to create in my film. I wanted to make a classic horror film, a chiller. And that meant building my own artificial cemetery. See, I didn't want it to look real. I wanted it to be supernatural, have its own style. The biggest concern was location. I needed a large warehouse to build my graveyard in, but I eventually settled on my parents' garage.
All I know is you start taking over our garage, and moving all of our stuff, and then we had to buy new stuff because we couldn't find our old stuff, and pretty much we didn't find our stuff for months to come.
It wasn't the first time I took over my parents' garage. When I was 18, my senior year of high school, I turned it into a haunted house exhibit for Halloween.
Every Halloween, he'd either take over the basement or the garage. So we're pretty much used to it.
Then for my senior film in college, I turned it into a magic shop that sells weird antiques and relics for the movie The Jersey Odyssey's Episode 1, Legend of the Blue Hole. And the garage was ideal for a lot of my films because it had electricity, a swimming pool in the backyard, trees to cut down which I needed for the set, and my mom cooked for us, so the situation was perfect. The bad part was that I lived an hour and a half away, so I could only shoot on the weekends when I'm off work, and worse, the garage was too small and it was full of stuff. Like there was a lawnmower, a tractor, bicycles, ladders. So when we shot, I had to take all that stuff out and bring the tombstones in each day, and then, bring the tombstones back out and put all the stuff back in again. And the first phase of constructing this set was to condense everything to the sides of the garage and then cover it all with black fabric, which I hung by hooks on the ceiling. Finally, I covered the floor with black tarp, chopped down a bunch of trees, and hung them by fishing line all around the walls.
Being kind of a bull in a china shop was a little difficult. It was very difficult for me to not knock over at least one tombstone in every scene that we shot in that graveyard.
Graveyard was awesome.
Unbelievable how he could take such a small space and just make it look the way he did. And
it was actually really cool how you could be standing there amongst a bunch of styrofoam graves and actually feel like you're in the woods in the middle of the night.
If you had blindfolded me and taken me inside, I would have never known it was a garage.
Want James to let me borrow his tombstones for next year for Halloween. They're just really authentic and very well done.
There is also a scene where a zombie tries to crawl out from the ground. So this was another reason why we couldn't shoot in a real cemetery. Well, what we did was, I had a layer of drywall and wood, which I propped up on cinder blocks. And Kathy would lay down underneath it and then come up through this hole we made. So Steve was actually standing on the wood. This was the first scene we shot, and after that, we had to tear it down immediately and set up the rest of the cemetery to continue shooting. There was another set change too, and a major one. After we finished all the cemetery stuff, we had to tear down the entire set and turn the garage back into a garage for the shed scene. So while I said before that this movie was supposed to be like an old-fashioned black and white chiller, I also wanted to make a modern splatter flick at the same time. So what I was trying to do really was like Night of the Living Dead. That movie is like the crossbreed between the two horror generations. It was like the first of its kind to show violence the way it did, but it was also really cheap, black and white, and brought up on the classics. So it's really like the middle ground horror film. So just like that, I want to take the best of both worlds. And I always liked trying out homemade special effects. So growing up, I made all kinds of bloody, gory movies. They were a lot of fun, and that's where the humor comes in. Like when you can tell that something's not real, that it's so overdone and outrageous, that to me is just simply fun. It's fun to make and it's fun to watch.
And there's so many different ways to kill each other, and I found out a new one by watching this movie with the spine shoved up my co-worker's ass.
I love the gore effects. Like for the head smashing with the car, I made the melon head, and it was great seeing my work blown up by a car tire.
So I originally wanted to make it in black and white, but the redness of the blood would really be missed. So then I thought, why not just make the blood in color? Because I've never seen that done, prior to that at least.
When you went shopping that time, I thought, isn't he such a nice guy? He's going shopping, he's buying food. Then he tells me it's all props, all that sausage and hamburgers and drinks. He sure made a mess of the yard.
There was flies everywhere for days.
It was a real messy film.
But the balloon was it was a pain to get balanced. There was a balloon they put on top of a corpse, and they tried to balance it up with sticks, and we were trying to figure out everything we could possibly find in the garage to balance it. And at one point, I think it fell, and it looked like it broke, and it didn't break. And finally, we got it just perfect, and it was a money shot. It was definitely worth it.
Fucking awesome. Fucking awesome.
Well, the balloon served as my wife's head, and secretly I wish that, I can't say that.
I had never worked in the horror genre before, and seeing all the splattering blood and the gory effects was something new to me, but was a lot of fun. Every day is something new. You're splitting open someone's head, or ripping out their intestines, or just stabbing the fuck out of them.
It was actually really gross. I didn't know there was meat in it until afterwards, thank God, because I wouldn't know what those chunks were.
Well, I got the lovely opportunity to work with about 10 pounds of sausage.
Really didn't get that much gore on me. It was mostly Kool-Aid. Don't get it in your eyes because it burns.
Oh, shit. Get it up your nose. Okay.
The only scene that I really had any part of getting dirty was the ground scene. I was covered and caked with flour and dirt and pine needles and bugs, and I went home with them in my bra and my shoes. And
at the end of the night, when I went home, I basically had to peel my clothes off of me. They were literally stuck to me because a lot of the gory effects contained sugar.
During the shooting of the movie, my husband brought up that I could roll my eyes, and of course I had to show them with dirt in my eyes, and James liked it, and he said keep doing it, and I had never tried to do anything else while I was doing it, so it was hard to keep crawling and roll my eyes at the same time. So this is what it looks like.
I thought the movie was very good, and the wrap party was so much fun. It was great to see everybody and get to see the final product that everyone worked so hard to accomplish.
It turned out great. A lot better than I could have ever imagined.
It was sharp. I liked it a lot because I learned a lot of things that you never give consideration to, like the different angles of the way you're being filmed, and how many times you have to repeat it to get the right angle and things like that, that when you watch a movie you never really think of. You just take for granted that's the way it's done.
Like me seeing a shovel hit a balloon, I couldn't see that turning into a head in the movie. I was like astounded by what happened.
And it looks just like James' vision, but to actually see it rather than just trying to imagine it, to actually see it come to life, is just really a thrill. And I think he did a super job.
It looks really good from what we had to work with, and all the effects and everything. Everybody did an amazing job. All the actors really put everything they, had into it. Nobody got paid. Everybody was here because they wanted to be, and because they loved the whole experience of making films.
Oh, I had a blast. I really thoroughly enjoyed working with James. He's an extremely creative guy. He allows the actors to experiment. We did a fair amount of ad-libbing in this film.
The filmmaking experience was an absolute pleasure. James is very easygoing. He's very good to work with. Highly recommend him doing all kinds of things. He basically told us what he wanted, but he also gave us a lot of freedom to kind of act, and it was definitely kind of cool. The actors, Steve and Jason, were great.
It was a lot of fun, and I would do it all over again.
I'm kind of glad I really did this because it was really cool to do.
I can't wait for other people to see it and see their reactions to it. I didn't know what it was going to be like because you only see your scene that you were in, and everybody else shot scenes, and I didn't get to see them as they were shooting them. And it was neat to see it all placed together and see what a great job he did. And I want my friends and my family and other people to see the movie that I was in.
So everybody gets an A+. It was like, when I was doing my credits and trying to list like what everybody did, it was really hard to do because everybody really did a little everything. It was truly a team effort, and that's what made it work.